Good afternoon, and thanks for coming to listen to me speak. The last Speaker's Corner for today, and I would promise I will be finished in good time so you can get to listen to Rachel Reeves next door, and I'll be in there too, of course. My name is Duncan Ayling. I work for the Crown Estate as the Supply Chain and Regions Manager. It's a new position. I've only been there 8 months, and the position has been there the same length of time that I have. The Crown Estate is well known in some circles, but I just want to explain who we are, because I've spoken to a few people today who had no idea who we are. We're an independent organisation, but we act like a public organisation, so we're quasi-public. And we were set up by Act of Parliament a long time ago to manage and make a profit out of the seabed and a fair amount of the land in the UK as well, for the benefit of the public purse. All of our revenue goes to the Treasury. So the more money we make, the less taxes you pay. I normally get a round of applause at that point, but no, thanks. My role is specifically for offshore wind, and I'm running a supply chain accelerator fund for offshore wind, and that's really why I'm here today. That's my key message, is to get the word out about this supply chain accelerator fund, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. The Crown Estate itself, however, has a wider interests: nature, social benefits, thriving communities, and a coordinated use of the seabed. So to that end, a lot of work has gone into what we call a marine delivery route map, and that was published last year, near the end of last year, which creates a vision for the use of the seabed out to 2050. I was not involved in the development of that work, so I feel a little bit of a fraud talking about it. I will skip onto the Future Offshore Wind report, which we also published at the end of last year, which was looking to lease more seabed to the tune of 20 to 30 gigawatts worth of offshore wind leasing by 2030. Of course, we're in 2025 now. It's only 5 years to lease another 20 to 30 gigawatts worth of projects by 2030. To put that in context, we have 15 gigawatts of offshore wind installed and operating in the water at the moment. So that's a massive amount to come. I, from a supply chain point of view, know that the Crown Estate has its place to play, has its part to play in creating certainty, in creating pipeline for the supply chain. If we can say where we're going to lease, and how much, and when, then that is a significant piece of the puzzle. Of course, the government also is doing its part with annual CFD rounds, contracts for difference, CFD, that's the support mechanism. If the Crown Estate leases the seabed in a predictable manner, and the government allocates a certain amount of gigawatts through the CFD system in a predictable manner, then we are working together to create that certainty that the industry needs. Before I joined the Crown Estate, I was an offshore wind farm developer working in procurement and supply chain. So I worked very closely with the suppliers for offshore wind, and that is a key message that kept coming through year after year after year. Just give us a certainty and we will step up. Now, to help those companies step up, the Crown Estate has launched a supply chain accelerator fund. This is a 50 million pound development expenditure fund. There are a lot of different support organisations out there, and this support landscape is quite complex. I've spent many years trying to map it, and there's even a piece of work happening now with the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership to put out a single source of truth, mapping support so that people can see what is available to them, at what stage of development their technology is, or are they heading for commercialization? Do they need to actually get support for setting up new factories? I was just last week at a conference in Newcastle called Renewable UK's Ports and Vessels Conference, sitting on a panel with the National Wealth Fund to my left and the Scottish National Investment Bank to my right. And both of those were saying that they had a lack of investable projects on their desks for offshore wind. Now that spoke to me because this is exactly what we're trying to facilitate in the Supply Chain Accelerator, is bringing projects to becoming investment ready. There's been a gap in support landscape, which I've often referred to as the Valley of Death, where excellent concepts have been brought up to a high technology readiness level, but they can't get into commercialization. That's where we're targeting this accelerator fund. We are offering match funding of 50%. So the applicant, the company, does need to front up 50% of the money to develop these projects. Last year was the pilot fund that we launched. We offered up to £10 million in funding, and it was targeted at the Celtic Sea area of the UK, which is between South Wales and the Southwest, where the Crown Estate is currently in procurement of 4.5 gigawatts of floating offshore wind projects. That tender is live, so I cannot say anything about it, but it is on schedule to award the winners in summer this year. So the winners will be known. That will be a wonderful position, because then the suppliers know who the winning projects are owned by, and they can actually start making agreements to supply. We allocated £5 million worth of development funding to 12 projects at the end of last year. So we didn't allocate the whole 10 million. Reasons being that we think the floating offshore wind market is still really quite immature. The potential is huge, but the supply chain is growing and not as established as the fixed foundation offshore wind supply chain. There was a discussion about, did we time it right? Should it have been last year or this year? Well, actually, we're doing it every year. So we're catching it at the start, and we're going to keep supporting it on an annual basis. This year, we're also expanding the scope from not just the Celtic Sea, but UK-wide. We'll be supporting projects that are fixed foundation as well as floating foundation. And very importantly, we want to support port development as well. Reason for being here today is I'm trying to reach a different audience to the normal offshore wind audience that I talk to. We want to support manufacturing facilities. Anything that is manufacturing, anything that could supply to the offshore wind industry. This year, it will be a larger pot, £15 million. And we will open the call for applications in the spring. So coming very soon, the call will go open. Please refer to the Crown Estate and the Supply Chain Accelerator webpage, which I'll keep updated, and that will be our portal to make sure that people are aware. There will be a place where you can register your interest and make sure that you receive those emails. So I know I only have 1 minute left.
The conference will recommence in the Fleming Auditorium soon. Please make your way to the auditorium as the room is now open.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to take them right now. There's a roving microphone here.
Thank you. Interesting that you've come up with that. How well known is it in industry in general that you're talking about? Because other than what you've just said there, I've known there's been some work with offshore, and but a lot of engineering companies, I would say, would probably be interested if they knew a bit more about it.
Thank you. Because it was a pilot fund and it was the first time the Crown Estate's ever done it, we tried our best to spread the word last year, but we do acknowledge that it's not very well known. One of the reasons why I'm here today, to try to promote that. We do have an industry advisory group which I'm using to guide me, and on that group is Make UK. We have a few other members as well, so we're trying to spread the word. But we will be doing another public awareness and external affairs and comms plan for this year. But any assistance in spreading the word would be absolutely welcome, very welcome indeed.